Wow, took me like 3 days just to make this video, as I wanted to make it as a slide. So the thing about this is just I've always wanted to make this video ever since I got back from China 2 months ago, and it's just gone to the stage that I don't know what's best. I really have no idea what's best to make this video, because I wanted to go back to China without coming across as being as biased or anything like that, going against the system and everything like that. I'm pretty sure you click on this video because of the social credit, and which I am going to talk about. So this video will go through 27 slides and just go through like a bit of like, I believe this video should be made as a full drawing the dots together instead of me wanting to narrow focus down on the social credit. And I'm pretty sure you guys have watched social credit through other YouTube channels, but I promise you this video is completely different. It's not what you've actually come across. So this is like understand the bigger picture and go through. And yeah, I've been putting a hold on all my assessments and try to try to create all these slides and everything. So I came across this really great. So yeah, so we'll take you to a long journey ride, and let's begin now. Now China has like has very different identities, as you know, like many different tribes forms into one country. As you can see, different part of cities, town, village, rural areas, everything is different. As I mentioned down below, as you can see, culture, food, language, tradition, norms, expectation, beliefs, dowry payments, family structures, units, and gods, as well as very, very different. Now, the transformation, a country with many cultural background, you raise up from a poverty. It's after Mao's death, and look what he becomes now, a potential superpower. Before I even go further on with all my slides, I've just let you know I haven't even double check or correct my slides, and forgive me for my error or typing doesn't make sense. I'll pretty much elaborate through. China is coming from a hunter-gatherer society into well-rich nation as the world wanting to work and trade with China. China is actually like North Korea, to be honest. Back in the days under the Mao regime, it's just pretty much just isolated. It's very cold. After that, then you have the Deng Xiaoping came in and opened up China, and look where it leads today. So yeah, so China used to be like North Korea. Now, money makes the world goes around, as you know, many of the international wanting to do business with China, as they have the money, potential money. They're strongly interested in raw materials, properties, agriculture, land, trade, business, and more, and money. When it comes to money, after America gone crash in 2008, China pretty much trying to bail them out, giving them a couple of billions. So yeah, even money as well. Now, on the other hand, human rights. As you can see, Western world has abandoned industrialization to, jobs being given to third world countries, leaving technological revolution to sustain their society and domination of service industry, which is absolutely true. What is going on right now, the Western world spend large money meeting the HR and human rights, when I call HR and UN, to eliminate barriers and poverties of the global problems. Yeah, which is actually what is going on, trying to be a centralized police, minding someone's business, especially when it comes to third world countries are not behaving too well. So yeah, as westernized unemployment rate has skyrocketed, with high income tax to sustain their citizens and welfare, which is true. I know I can't speak for any other country, but I can speak for my country. In Australia, high taxes goes towards the citizens and the welfare, and it just keeps sustaining. And governments trying to reduce the job market, like introduce more job market by creating forced jobs by casual positions, and as well part-time, coming from full-time. So, which is true, and China also have high taxes as well, but the money and everything, which I'll go a couple of slides, is going to the country, and as you guys may know, is a communist, so therefore is going to the Communist Party. China has been doing a smart move. China, on the other hand, has been high on taxes. Also, spend money on improving the state of living of the country. If you do look back, the Cultural Revolution until now, I think it's 40 or 50 years, something around there, and look what a massive shift it changed. There's not many countries, like a third world country, can change to today's stage as that developed. As China made a smart move by boosting the industrialization into cheap slavery price to draw multinational brands, as well adapt to new technology world. So they pretty much have them two on the side, technological, and as well we have industrialization at the same time. So which is, instead of abandoning it, they had kept everything. So, and they're smart on money, they're smart on business, so they know how to get good contracts around the world. So the only welfare assist in China is age pension. Now, the one good thing about the age pension in China, I think it's 55 and 57 for women and men. That's a pretty great racial age, and just I look at the Western world. It's like, even though in Australia we're trying to go to 67, by the time I'll get to my pension, it'll probably be like 75 or 80, something around there. So, well, but China is very appealing to have 55 and 57. So that means, entering the job market for upcoming, citizens is a lot easier. Unlike the ones here, but yeah. Unlike the Western world, spend all sorts of money on social problems. In Australia, we spend pretty much a quarter of our taxes, federal tax, state tax as well, to social problems, social welfare, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. Or the government try to reduce as much costs by introducing technology, apps, and as well introducing poor laws to minimize the tax for people who are not eligible for the benefits. Money is what China's good at, as I mentioned before. Now, I'm not sure how to pronounce this reader down here. The book Dambisa Moya. So I read this book. She used to work as Goldman Sachs, and I'm not sure where she's from, but she's from one of the African countries. I can't say continent, but yeah. And she mentioned a very good point. During that time, I wasn't even aware of what's going on, but we'll go through the slides. China has wanted to help third world countries rise through trades and form infrastructure. Look at the countries in the Africa continent, yet the Western media shame China for colonizing the land, but hey, at least they are not creating wars. Nobody wants to invest those countries, only China wanting to help them out. Sending money and charity doesn't grow the country, it's just another form of dependency on welfare. Side note, when I was studying my diploma, I remember one of the, is it the project manager or the ambassador of the Save the Children from Nairobi, Kenya, is it there? But she came to our class and tell us what is a great opportunity the job offers and what they're creating in their society. And I raised my hand and I said, I've read this Dambisa Moya book, Death Aid of Africa, mentioned about, foreign aid doesn't create any jobs. Are you sure you guys creating jobs, and what sort of jobs are there? And she couldn't answer much. All she said is, yeah, we created jobs. And I'm just there back of my head, I was like, I'm not sure about that. But if you're giving too much foreign money or charity, people have gone lazy and they don't want to work when depending on money coming in, coming through. where China's doing completely different, trying to build infrastructure in return of getting the minerals and everything, but also the infrastructure create jobs in their countries and wealth as well. So that is a good benefit. Sabotage. Poor human rights. The Western world are giving China a bad publicity. China is colonized third world countries through building infrastructure. So that's what the Western. Okay, now I understand this slide. So the Western world is trying to sabotage China's their effort, their work, what they're actually doing right now, and it's gone to the stage, as I mentioned before. You have bad human rights. You're this, you're that. China just banned recycled rubbish into the country, especially from Australia, which I found shocking. I did not know our recycled rubbish goes to China. So pretty much, this ghost city, there's always been collapsing. There's always like shadow banking, and always portray China and Russia as evil. So I always paint them as evil because of they're not part of the NATO, all right, China and Russia, and keep going bad because they're the potential threat to the NATO or Western or America or whatever you want to name it. And we just want to sabotage and saying, you have poor human rights. You're not one of us. You're not up there. Look at you. And especially what trying to do, colonize the third world countries. And I mentioned on previous slides, yes, they're building infrastructure, trying to build relationship with other countries in return of minerals and everything. And as well, this is more related to Australia. China Pacific Aid. So China is providing aid within the Pacific region. I can see on the picture, the government of Australia was trying to say these are useless. China's pouring money, their own money, to Polynesian Island or Pacific Islands countries. Into nowhere because they're building infrastructure doesn't benefit the community, where the money is benefiting to trades. As you can see on my slide, saying they spent $2 billion calling them useless infrastructure, not helping the community, promotes China interests through trades. In my opinion, at least China is building stronger trades, allowing country to create jobs and wealth for the country, because these countries are either colonized, former colonized, or independent country, and they rely on aids from from bigsters like us, like big countries like first world nations giving money to him, and in return of getting their stuff. And it's sort of like capitalism, because of if you study through the industrial revolution, agricultural revolution, you see, they're taking Caribbean for sugar, or they go through India for, what is it, tea and spices, and other part of the region just providing goods back to their countries, and the countries, like the first world nation. And capitalism just pretty much just milk the money, give them pennies and milk the money, and that's how they have their wealth and everything. So you have that's been happening throughout. I just want to double check if my laptop is hot. Okay, I think it's alright. So yeah, so it's very interesting to see that. But China's just building infrastructure. I know they're building it in middle of nowhere, but they wanted to expand the trade and everything, and which is great. At least small businesses can jump on board selling their goods. The Western media is trying to sabotage the whole thing, saying that, well, they're afraid because of what China's doing is building the economy up, building the country up, where when they invade the country, they treated them bad, poor facility, and just rely on their money and say you're useless, you're not getting money, this and that, blah blah blah. So it's amazing just to know that. But that's the way how it is. And I think even though the One Belt One Silk Road is not going through the Pacific, but I believe that's what the vision of China, trying to building ports around those islands, and bring back goods. But now Australia government is fighting for this not to happen. Anyways, we'll get back to the topic. There's plenty hate propaganda to sabotage China, as China is winning former Western colonized countries. Now, I couldn't find a map, which is a map, but it is a war on building relations, as only two of the countries are competing for. Now, before I show you this picture, I remember I was watching this clip. There's only China and US in the world who can obtain this superpower because of the relation, the power, and with countries. Now, I'm going to show you this clip right now. Okay, now I know it's very, very small. As you can see, blue means favorable of America, and then red, pink is favorable of China. As you can see, 3 location is like pretty dark. I think it's navy or black, gray, whatever you call it. And you can see on the map here. Now, as I mentioned before, I couldn't find that map. They mentioned about what's pro-China, what's pro-America, and this way it comes to. Now, this is where it comes with the raw material, oil, trade, military, and everything. Now, you can see China right next to it. The very, very red one, it's Pakistan. Above it is Russia, and then on the side, I'm not sure, I think it's Turkey, and I'm not sure what's above Turkey, I'm not sure, but it's another Middle Eastern. Libya, Egypt, I think Libya is Egypt, yep. And bit of there, you see America, there's some blues around, and as you can see, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, is China. But like I said, the map is a lot. This is not the updated one. There's even more updated one. I know with the Africa, as I mentioned before, they're building the city up, the infrastructure is a lot more red instead of being neutralized, being grey. As you can see down there, this is where Australia is getting murky, because we kind of, when we're supposed to be a neutral country for China and America, but turns out we have our navy base up in our Darwin. Or you can look at New Zealand. New Zealand is different. New Zealand is completely different. New Zealand is neutralized. So it's a fun fact. The effect of freedom. Is there a picture? Okay, there you go. I've got the picture down there. Oh man, I've got. So pretty much what I'm seeing here is, the effect of freedom. So as the Western world keeps sabotaging China's image, the China government saw the effect upon the local citizens, spreading freedom of speech. Regions fighting for independence weakened the country's powers. Side note about the coast. So before I get to my side note, let me just draw something out. Because right now they're fighting independence right now is, gosh, I wish I didn't have this green. Which color should I do? Xinjiang. Alright, that is Xinjiang over there. Sorry if I'm not writing properly. Alright. And then you have Tibetan. That's the Dalai Lama. That's the holy city of the Buddhism. And like I said, I can't see from this screen. Okay, I can do it here. Taiwan, I know Taiwan is a bit different. Oh gosh, I really can't see it from here because my computer, oh gosh, sorry. And then you have a bit of Hong Kong. I know you can't see it from here. I can't even see it because I got my bloody webcam is bloody blocking my view from this point. Okay, so if I had this conversation with my landlord last night about this topic about it, and he's saying, well, back in the 1800s, the most powerful country was France. France, Germany, America, China wasn't up there, or India wasn't up there. And look at today, they are not as that powerful or superpower, which they were back in the day. And what they've been telling me is like, well, if you have more population, more people, of land mass, you potentially will become as one of those, superpower. And that is today's society. The more population, the bigger the land mass, the way how it is. What I'm drawing here is these regions like, Xinjiang up there to the black, and the red down here, Tibetan, they're fighting with independency. If China loses them too, And I know Taiwan, I know they're fighting for their independence. Even right now, it's classified considered as China. But if they fight for independence, and as well with the Hong Kong umbrella, they were fighting for independence. If these four, fight for the independence and moved out from China, look what China has become, an even smaller country, smaller size, and that's breaking down the power ship of having that on the side. So why the hell did I mention about Ghost City here on the side though? But yeah, so that's basically what he's trying to, or what I'm trying to say is like, if you are a smaller country, it's easy to get picked on. That's the way how it is. As you know, we live in the Western world. Freedom comes with a price. Private problem turns to a state problem to take care as a social problem. To be a developed country needs to meet the price, not falling into poverty, funding to social areas. So I know if the chichi wives. Okay. So if you look at this graph here, I'll get to the side note a bit later on. All right. What the heck was that? If you look at the graph, right, you see Austria, Denmark, OECD's countries, right? These are the countries first when they like classified, with the welfare states and everything. Then this is how much they're spending on the GDP, and you can see like, Germany, and you can see all these type, right? But you see that like, those who doesn't give out much of the welfare. You look at Korea and everything like that, and I'm pretty sure China will be somewhere. If China is in the list, it will be very low. That's why they're seeing all this GDP spending. Like, look at our spending on these countries, as you can see. It's fascinating just to see about the whole thing. So, as you can see, if you have large spending on the social welfare, I'm not sure where you're from, but I'm just speaking on my behalf of where I'm from, Australia. I don't see much of kids. I don't see much at all. If you walk down the street, you don't see much at all. When I was in China 2 years ago, I get to see heaps. And it was running around, and I started to say to myself, it looks more a functional society where locals are start breeding a lot more. Unlike, Western world, they struggle to breed because we have high taxes, and high taxes goes towards our social welfare. And I get to see a lot more elders in China, very happily, and because as I mentioned before, with the retirement age. But I see the elders here, they struggle to survive. They're not even happy at all. And see, that's the freedom of price, right? If you have freedom, you can't have everything as mentioned, right? You can't have one or the other. That's what I'm trying to say. But also, the freedom also, if you have Western influence, especially with the gender neutral, with the celebrities. In Hollywood does get into China's celebrities, following that sort of trend. So that is also, this is what freedom does. It actually creates, whether you consider good or bad, that's up to you. But I know for a conservative country, they won't value that as much as they want. I'm sorry to say that, but yeah. But in my studies, I have to respect all of them, and I'm not going to put any of my opinion in that sort of area. But I think it's given them a chance because of liberalism, radical society that we're in. But also, you've seen that's completely, if it's a conservative country, you have to follow it differently. Now, Western influence, as you can see, in China, there's heaps of foreign materialism brands everywhere I go. It's everywhere. It was ballistic. I feel like an outcast because I'm not wearing what they're wearing. Brands are everywhere in China. So more people are more liking the Western brand, foreign brands. I will get to foreign culture. Side notes for the 6. So my cousin is an English teacher, high school English teacher. and many of her students are complaining amount of work, and they praise the Western model, like having less homework or not that strict studies or everything like that. So there has influence with that as well. Divorce rate is on the rise as well in China. That's, it's partially from Western influence. China is a very, very tribalism society. As family unit is very, very strong, but now we get to see a lot more lone parents and things like that's happening. It's changing. Okay, so VPN. Yes, the government does control to the stage, but it's harder now. Why do I put in the Western influence? I should say this. Okay, I should change that bullet point as well. The point is, China ban, you guys know, Facebook, YouTube, blah 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 blah. Right, Western media outlet, because they're afraid of freedom of speech or allowing out. They have their own website, alternative website where governments can control. However, the VPNs does exist. As I went through one of my favorite Chinese YouTuber, ADV China, or Lao Y86, Serpentzia, mentioned about what's the difficulty it's like to access Western media, or as well upload their YouTube videos where they're constantly having 5 accounts of VPN, which half of it is being blocked and half of them they got to figure out which one has high speed and everything. So as you know, China is a communist country and doesn't like any social political movement or any changes. The Me Too movement does hit in China very big. It first went through in social media. I've spoken to my cousins about this, and they say, oh, it's normal. We always get this information through social media and everything like that. But also, he apparently it's banned to even type hashtag #MeToo. Where now, to have Me Too movement, they have symbols on their phone, rice and rabbit, as you can see on the picture, which is Me Too translation. So it's pretty hidden what's going on in China. And as well, I'm not sure how I include this, but I'll include it towards the end. I can't believe this 27 minutes long video. Okay, don't worry about it. I'll get to this finish. So the Me Too movement is getting really crazy into Women's International Days, and the government couldn't control them. Okay, let's get to this. The influence of upon youth. Now more and more youth in China is liking what the Western model, and they really like what they're doing, whether it's rock or hip hop or whatever, tattoos and everything. It's a lot of influence for nowadays, and wanting to have this freedom leads to weakened path. The citizens are slowly brave to go against the communist values, like they want to challenge, like they wanted to go against, because now they see the influence what Western media or Western movie shows or everything, what they're trying to promote is a very crazy thing. And like that's how the way it is. And yeah, it's a bit scary going against, trying to challenge the communist values and everything like that, because they see what the Western world's doing. The youth are praising Western model. So I know Nathan. I think I can't put Claude in that one, but I think Nathan it is, because Nathan is actually came from Bangladesh, and he has no freedom of choice, but they're praising Western models and everything, and Claude as well, praising Western models with the feminists and equal rights and everything like that is a good thing for China, but definitely can't do that in China as well. But my friend in Bangladesh, he is not a Muslim background, and it's difficult for them. He has justice in his country. But Claude as well, he likes to praise with that sort of stuff. But hey, that's the way how it is. Western values, I know it's currently happened. Okay, so when you lead to a weakened path, such as not having conservative values, and what you're seeing right now in the Western world with the gender politics, diversity, First Nation, and virtual signaling is a lot crazier. If China doesn't do anything about it, it'll weaken the path, and also that will get into the system as well. As I was in China, as I was reading news.com.au, there was like articles about like LGBTs fighting for their rights and everything, trying to uprise the social movements and everything like that. Anywho, slowly destroy and shrink the power of China. As I mentioned before, if it shrinks the power or destroys China, and bit by bit, as I mentioned on the on a couple of slides before, about what happens if Xinjiang, Tibet, Taiwan, Hong Kong, they all leave. It'll bring more weakened path because of the Communist Party controls to the point people doesn't want, and that's what Western want. Western wants to weaken China, so there's no competition, because right now they know China's winning, and they're jealous and plus they have money. The effect it leads to: more uprise, freedom and independency, as I mentioned before. With freedom, it creates more social problem and turning citizens into laziness. Now, as I mentioned on the social welfare slide, if you create social welfare and freedom by having that, you create laziness for sure. That's 100% sure. And more government will spend more money, because now you're fighting everyone's right. People do whatever they want, whatever they feel like. Is more about individualism instead of collectivism, because having social welfare in that sort of term degree, what the Western world is having, it's destroying families. Nobody wants to have kids anymore and everything. People just want to divorce. Marriage is not a purpose, strong purpose. I know China has high divorce rate, but not as high as the Western world, where Australia is 453. Is it 43? 43%. Yeah, 43 or 33%. 33 or 43. I keep forgetting. 43 or 33%. I know it's actually 43. I know America and all those countries, they are getting. If they become weakened, and I particularly showed this map to you guys. I'm not sure you guys are familiar with this. There's a missile shield is surrounded, pointing towards Russia, China, and North Korea, right? And they are everywhere. They surrounded them because Russia and China is not part of the NATO, and they see it as a potential threat because they have the power and military and the people power to get that happen. And they repeat history again, getting bullied and bullied and bullied. If China gets weakened, as I mentioned before, Xinjiang and parts of the China get weakened, it's easy to get bullied. As we can see, Vietnam, when they had their independence, they got bullied as well. China got bullied as well. But now China's different. But if China lose that part of regions, people see, oh, this country is unstable. It's easy target. Oh my god, 33 minutes. Alright, so now China's taking into action currently, or even before, way before, bad behavior citizens overseas. So even they have bad behavior, they'll ban citizens to travel overseas. Government has failed to ban dog eating festivals. I think it was in Guangxi province. I think that's the one. Trying to ban the cultural practice in Xinjiang. I overheard that they want to cut the beards and take off their hijabs, and that's what China wants, taking action. Dob a spy, in return of, rewarded by $70,000 US. I'm not sure how this goes. I just put it there. Okay. Ban social movement has umbrella movement when it hits global. That's the one I mentioned before, the Hong Kong one. Ban bad behavior through social media. I'll get that to the point. And ban certain key term words search in Chinese internet. That's what comment is about. You have to obey. Bad behavior. Now, as you see on the side on the picture, because they want the society to be functional, don't want to be sexist or anything like that. Or even China also banned this. You can't access pornography, like websites. You can't at all. But this girl, if you do sexually erotically eating banana, then you get banned. It was a trend about talking about this. Recent action. Now this we'll talk about very, very recent. We'll just talk about probably a couple of months ago or this year. tougher restriction on VPN. This was implemented in March 31st, which is like a couple of days ago. I'm not sure how long I upload this video. Today's the 4th of April, just to let you guys know. Actually, it's not 4th. Me bad. 8th of April. So tougher restriction on VPN, of course, and for foreigners who want VPN, foreign businesses, they have to go for government approval and under government monetization, because monitoring, my friend. Yeah. Media ban, hip hop, and visible tattoos. Tattoos because tattoos symbolize as freedom. Hip hop talks about freedom or going against the government or talking bad. George Orwell's book talks about, you know, an animal book as well. English language. And this side note is very interesting. As I mentioned before, my cousin, who's a high school teacher, English high school teacher, students now in her school, I can't speak of all the schools in China, but in her school, what's going on is English language is electives, right, in high school. So right now they lower the, I don't know what you call it, the points or results or rating for English language, and they want high rank or high points if you learn Yue. Yue can be Cantonese, speaking Cantonese language. So now more parents will probably, you know, force the kids to learn Yue because you have a high rating and you have a higher than English. So that means you can go to a further better, you know, ATA, or go to a better university in the future if you have high points. It makes sense, right? As I mentioned before, Me Too movement has shined International Women's Day. The government didn't know how to control it. It just went crazy in China. Strong multicultural, eliminating dysfunctional society and create functional society. That's what China wants to do. That's their golden vision. Strong cultural tradition, family, strong family unit. Yep, that definitely is. As I mentioned before, Western values. There's so much. What can I say? There's so much like influence of it's okay to divorce and things like that. It's okay to be lone parents and everything like that. Maintaining conservative culture and strong, you know, trying to control citizen behaviors. Trying to you know, that I'll get that towards the end of the video, later on. Tackling the issue. As China is now on the global stage, needs to build a strong reputation without following the Western values, which is true right now. Finding a way to tackle ongoing problems such as crimes, kidnap, organ harvest, fraud, tax avoidance, fake goods, and as well fake money, loopholes, bad behavior, breaking the norm, you know, in order to have a good image. Running out of ideas where, you know, it's hard to control 1.4 billion people as new problems arise constantly as well. Existing problems struggle to solve. That's like functionalist theories that I'm talking about there, and as well, you know, there's always existing one. You're trying to find out what's better for them as well. Now, this is the slide that everyone wants to get to, the mandatory of implementing of the 2020 Sesame Credit. It's a way of controlling 1.4 billion people, digitalized, following the norm to be good citizens. As I mentioned, the George Orwell's and as well Michael Foucault theories, allowing to be monitor their behaviors. Now, that's very, as I mentioned on my previous slide, that's what they want to tackle, and having this social credit will able to tackle this sort of stuff. As you know, Michel Foucault mentioned about, why did I write Michael? Michel Foucault mentioned about like you know, controlling, allow the society controls what's good, what's the norm, what's behavior, and let the professionalism steps in and find out what's good. But this in the scenario is different. The government is the professional professions to decide what's better, what's good, and what's good. And a solution to tackle all the problems, good behavior, you know, to rate, you know, good citizen. Now, I'm not going to get any further details of the Sesame credit, as I assume you click on this video with the credit knowledge behind. The slide that I'm talking about, the main reason why it helped me decode puzzle, together to make this video as I'm referring to this video, as you can see, boom, I think, yeah, that's your right. So I actually didn't want to make this video because of, I didn't know what's the best way, but Asian Boss did, make this video about the citizen's point of view, who responds to this social credit, which right now is currently beta version, and their opinions, their personal experience makes kind of sense to me, because not what what the Western view as the social credit is very, very crazy, above and beyond. Like perhaps they talk about jaywalking, good behavior is needed in the country, as he sees positive things. That's what the participants talking about in the video. I find the whole thing is completely different to Western thinking, as citizens in China doesn't see it as a bad thing, because the Western see it as a bad thing to have the social credit, where China is not at all. Which I find it makes more sense, because it's depending on your upbringing and how it is. But areas such as affiliate with low socioeconomic will decrease their rent rating. They find it is unacceptable. It's not acceptable. And or like I said, I don't know how this whole thing goes. I'm pretty sure China is a smart country, wouldn't go through what the West is particulating, as well with George Orwell's and as well with the Black Mirror. Okay, where am I finding? We will never find the government running this app. We will never want the government. I want this app into them. Okay, I don't know what did I just write down there. Okay. We'll never China acknowledge the consequence of the Black Mirror I mentioned before. I believe China will do the same degree to tackle the issue as I mentioned. So, if what the Black Mirror or George Orwell's theory about implementing strict guidelines, if China doesn't achieve the social, implementing this sort of social credit, I'm pretty sure they'll do the best as they can to introduce even more. So therefore, as I mentioned, like a fraud, bad behavior, stingy people, like crime and everything, and it's an easy to identify and name and shame them, outcast them. If the current program, when China releases it and people are not following, I'm pretty sure they'll go even deeper and deeper until people will find out. And I think it would be one of those trends is like one baby policy. I think they'll implement it really, really hard to the point that people will wake up and make sense to it. And I reckon it will be a couple of years after that. I can't say a couple of years, maybe a decade will change them. And after that, we'll go back to loosen up the areas it's like a re-education of the whole thing. And unlike as long it maintains the monoculture without Western influence, as what they see what's going on. So as you can see what the feminists are going through, and as well with the LGBT, the feminists is pushing it really hard with the First Nation. It doesn't meet China's values as clearly. So you have that. As long as the social credit allowed the country to succeed the China dream, that's what it matters to them. As I was in China, there's a lot of promotion of human rights values, and 国是家, it means country is home. As you can see in the picture below, 国是家, the same Chinese character. It makes total sense. If there's no country, there's no home. So what China is, even as communists, they say like we have to be a stronger country. Country is home. You got to treat your country as home. You got to well respect the country. If the country goes downhill or mention Western values or things like that, it doesn't fit the whole narrative of being a country of communism. Look at the Western world. You can see the protest policy change and lefty ideology. You cannot recognize their country, heritage, culture, as everything is same culture, same values and everything like that. And you can see that, definitely you can see what's the major difference between New Zealand and Australia. There's not much difference besides, the First Nation people or a bit of behind. That's about it. Everything is the same. Like, speak the same, different, same norm, cultures, everything's the same. Now, what is going on? China at the moment has implementing 20 million AI cameras. I know the bottom picture on your far right, the bottom one, it doesn't show much, but basically cameras can identify who you are, who you're with, who's your background and everything. It's the same concept of when you go to a casino. Each time you walk through that, I think it's a gambling section, the camera will pick up who you are, your profile and everything. They know everything. The use of Alipay and WeChat Pay really shocked me, because the last time I've been to China was probably 2016 or 15? 16. They didn't implement this whole pay, Alipay or WeChat, but look at it now. Oh my gosh, it was going ballistic. Wow. And as you can see on the top picture, that's the QR code. So what they normally do is you get a phone, you scan the code, if it's a restaurant or business or store or homeless person, and you say, well, depending on this laptop is $1,000, I just type $1,000, I scan the code at $1,000 and send it to their bank account. So that QR code is pretty much like their account number. So it's like a quick access. I know, we have like cards, like bank cards, and there's like a tabless, cashless cards. So I think this is a huge trend at the moment in China. It's like that. Anyway, I'm not sure when I was in Suzhou, or because I went to Suzhou, Hangzhou, Wuzhen. It must be Suzhou. I was shocked. Like, I didn't, China, there's no courtesy of one thing for all. But when I was in Suzhou at night, I wanted to explore the town because I was in a tour. I'd never been to this place. I just want to walk around before the next day I'm going to go to the next location, because I was in a hotel. So I was in Suzhou. I was in this hotel. I walked out, and there's a lot of cars, there's traffic and everything. But during that time, there wasn't much cars. So, if you want to walk through, across the road and everything, you have to be alert. There's no, I just walk randomly. It's not even like I'm walking where there's traffic lights. I just walk, and I was in the middle island, medium island. I just wait for the cars to go through. I was checking on my phone, and I lift my head up, and I was like, how come this car is stopping? And I just looked up, and I was like, there's no traffic light here. What is going on? And this guy's like, and I'm just there, I'm like, why are you giving me the courtesy? Like, I understand this, it's familiar when I was in the Western world, but it was not only just one car, there was like 2-3 cars stop at the same time. And I was like, okay, I don't usually get that in the Western world, but yeah, I understand you try to be courtesy, but I was shocked and amazed, like, why are you doing this? Anyway, I just walked through, and I called my, one of my friends called me up. He's like, hey, he's back to his hometown. He's telling me, oh, this whole, good behavior driver. If you're good behavior, if you're courtesy, you add more, like, I think license points or benefit for car insurance, like cheaper. And that's what the people are doing nowadays in Suzhou, and the courtesy driving. And I was really shocked, to be honest with you guys. I was like, what the heck is going on? I was in Guangzhou and nobody gave courtesy and everything, but I started to see what's going on in Shanghai. In Shanghai, it was completely different as well. There's a lot of courtesy going on, but I'm only speaking on Suzhou only. Suzhou is like a city next to Shanghai. All right, just a nearby city. Okay, I when 2 years ago. Like even now, I see a lot of retail stores struggling to survive as online platform kills the industry. So as you can see, the WeChat Pay and the Alipay, the WeChat, the app, you can buy You can go through like your food apps and everything. You got Alibaba, and you can have like online buying platform. It's like a bigger version of way bigger version of eBay and Amazon, pretty much. So pretty much they bought, like, everyone's just on the online platform, and people like my age or a generation above, they don't use cash. They all use phone. Just pretty much to tap order, like just pretty much to scan and pay all the way through. So cash is kind of dying out. But obviously some certain areas does have cash and everything. I was having a Pizza Hut with my cousin, and I just wanted to try the durian pizza, and it was a huge trend like last year ago. So it was just, I never seen FPOS machine in China, but when I was in Pizza Hut, they don't have the Alipay or the WeChat Pay. They only have the FPOS machine. I was really shocked just to see that. I thought they'll probably get onto it by now. Oh my gosh, 50 minutes already. Gosh, it's like 51. Okay. Now WeChat Pay and Alipay, they're not banking. They're not bank as well, and they're not bank platform. They're not bank. They're just a social media or e-commerce. And banks right now, a lot of them are sacking staffs because of the whole online platform. So they see that as a huge threat. Who would have? I don't know how it's going to go. Once the social credit does mandatory release in 2020, I'm not sure how the banks will go. I'm pretty sure some areas you can't do. I'm pretty sure with the WeChat Pay, your maximum transaction in a day is 3,000 RMB. 3,000 RMB. Gosh, I'm gonna put that on top of my head. I have to do it, but just telling you what's it like and everything. So 3,000 RMB. Gosh, calculator. Okay. 3,000 RMB, and I think Aussie dollar, I think is 4.8 at the moment. So $625 each transaction each day. $625. That's a lot of money. But 3,000 RMB is like equivalent to average, I think, low income monthly salary. So that's how crazy it is. And you pretty much can do anything. You can book hotels with this WeChat Pay, hotels, train ticket, like interstates, like food order. There's a lot. It's like different sort of apps and come to one app, and there's a lot. Oh, let me skip to another slide. My opinion about social credit. I've spoken all about that. One of the I do agree with the Asian boss video is the participant mentioned is a good purpose as a systems for jobs, which I agree. So what she's saying is like you have resume, right? You have resume for your job. You go for the job interview, you got a resume, which is great. And as well, it's great to understand their social, what's the well-being, what type of person are they. It's easy for nowadays to go to a job interview, and most of us will probably rely on a job interview questions. But what is your weakness, what is your strength, or blah 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 blah. You go there and you talk about it and you rehearse back of your head. But I reckon this social credit is really great if it's coming for job or dating profile, like finding out how many dates they've been going through, or how many girlfriends or something like that, how many cheating or what experience and everything. I think it's more realistic. I like that sort of side, telling about the realistic sides and everything. Now, is social credit suitable? Is it suitable for Chinese? I reckon it is, because Chinese value high socioeconomic, surrounded by powerful socialization, so they wanted to surround it by high IQ people. They don't want negative people to draw them down. And I know you guys been watching the videos about like, oh, if you have one bad friend, your social credit will go down. And I believe, well, it's up to them whether they release or not in that format. But yeah, I remember when I was a kid, my parents always wanted me to hang around with powerful people. As you know, decades and decades. I know there's two baby policy, but we'll talk about just introduced now. But decades before, like even one baby policy has brought huge expectation on their singular child as prince or princess of the household. Giving them the best of the best, treating them like kings. Have high quality food. Tutoring, studying, listen to whatever the demands on the child, and for them to be successful when they grow up, to compete the rat race when they grow up. Well, the value matches with the social credit system. It definitely does. It definitely does. I know I got one more slide left, and I know you guys have been itching for it. So yeah, my prediction and the current laws. Now, gosh, I'm not sure how I'm gonna talk on this. And mention about this video. I know sorry, I duplicated in two, so I just focus on your right. Is it right? Your left. On your left. The 5-year visa. China just introduced a 5-year visa. I think it was towards the end of February or beginning of March, something around there. They just introduced 5-year visa. Now, the 5-year visa is one of the criteria is you have to be a Chinese born. So it's technically I can't obtain a 5-year visa. So it gives a lot of opportunity for those who go back to the country or buy houses or just live and everything. And a 5-year visa, that is great. Now, I know this is a bit like what is currently going on. I know it's going off the topic, but I'm telling you what's going on right now. Green card visa upon talented and as well Nobel Peace Prize. Those who obtain that will definitely get it, I think I lost one of my slides. Okay, I lost one of my slides. Okay. I think, have I talked about it or lost it? Don't worry about it. I'll get back to it. The rise of the, the Nobel Peace Prize to get a green card in China. For foreigners to get a green card in China is like close to impossible. But yeah, there's a high expectation. Before I jump into the next PowerPoint, next bullet point, I'll talk about this. China has implementing banning. I think I lost that slide somehow. So the banning, I have to close my eyes to think about this. All right. So China just recently for 3 months. I think I've talked about this, but I'll talk about it again. Just banning. All right. They banned tattoos and everything. Oh, one of the areas I didn't talk about is yesterday. Today is the 8th of April. Yesterday, the 7th of April, they just banned it, or 7th or 6th of April, just banned Bible. Okay, Bible books. Okay, to sell, and online shops as well. I think I've covered, and tattoos. Yep, I think talk about, but the Bible, and because the Bible is pretty much yes, it promotes humanity, it promotes good stuff, but also it's coming from a Western format, and it's just like a Western views. I think the Chinese just really want to ban it because of imposed Western values and everything. Doesn't meet their values, and there's a lot of prediction towards the end, like what's going to happen, marking with the beast and things like that is predicting a lot. So therefore, China is banning that. That's what I believe. Okay, so now let's go back to this slide here. Okay, because I remember I didn't put the Bible thing up there. It's pretty crazy just to know that, because the Bible predicts a lot of stuff, which is coming true. Okay, the rise of the ghost city. Now, I was lucky enough to sneakily join in with my my cousin who works in the police force. The government has fun tour to see what's the town's like what's the upgrades and everything, and showing what's the future plans and what's the goal and vision, what's the changes, everything. So I can't talk about the city because I think I don't know who's gonna watch this video. So they want to shift the factory industrial jobs to outer away from where the people lives. So they want to shift a distance away, and that's what they've been showing us, the ghost cities. And the ghost cities was like the plan implementing there was pretty empty. I'm looking at it, it was very, very empty to the point that it's beyond mind-blowing the way how they structured. There was like empty roads. My cousin was driving me through, just empty after empty, and the houses after houses empty. and the amount of like houses being built after built. Houses were built with land being filled where once upon a time was ocean, a sea. So they planted up and they built houses straight on top, above the sea. I don't know how they did with the water, maybe it's drought or anything, so they planted up and now there's no water. I do see some parts of it just literally surround the water and just completely it's like sea. Now, when I was entering the tour with my cousin, I do see that the tour guides mentioned about, you know, Huaqiao buying houses here, you know, promoting Huaqiao people to buy here. Now, when I think about that, and I was like, oh, okay, so you want like, you know, 5-year visa. Kind of makes sense. You know, they want the Huaqiao people to come back here and buy houses, buy these houses or anything. People say it's empty or anything. But, you know, I believe, right, even though they want Huaqiao to buy houses in that sort of areas, but also, I believe if China do attain the superpower of the world, okay, now I know I stated on my side note here, this is before, you know, all this Trump tariff or what's going on. If China obtained this superpower, they want to do what America did. When America attained the superpower, everyone wants to move to America. Skilled migrant as well. As I mentioned before on the slide, the green card visa upon the talented and Nobel Peace Prize. Those who are talented or maybe professors or engineers, they wanted them to be back and give them a green card because they wanted scientists, they wanted talented people that benefit the country and give them a green card. Exactly what America did when America obtained that superpower. And when it attained that superpower, that's what America became what it is, like a powerful country, has, you know, people, smart people around the world who goes to the country. But when China obtained that power, that's what China's seeing as, to see that powerful as well. So that's what I think, my view and everything. Okay, I just want to draw out, I'm sorry guys, but yeah. Okay, future. So the future is looking like this, right? So what I see with the future, if this whole thing implements with the social credit. When the social credit implements, it will create it'll be difficult for expats, you know, to get a hold, to communicate with their family members. Actually, it won't be, but it's just that they have to watch what they say, even though what's their freedom of thoughts, you know, what they're saying. They can't. Everything is monitored. Chinese YouTubers, as I mentioned before, ADV China, or other YouTubers, Guilao60, Lao Y86, or the rest of them, I don't think they have a voice anymore, because even they have the access of the VPN, it will be shut down because of the rating system, because first off, you're using a Western media, that's no-no, and doesn't matter what the topic is, you're using something, and that's a no-no. And I don't think a lot of YouTubers will be coming out. They will be closing the doors over there. It's disadvantage for foreigners, you know, foreigners or even tourists or foreigners. I think tourists are right, but foreigners to even establish in China if you don't understand Chinese or read Chinese. I understand Chinese, but I can't read Chinese. I'm sorry, I should change that in that. Read Chinese, because we call it app in Australia or in the Western world. We call it app. You know, you go Play Store app or things like that. In China, they call it APP because that's how they say it, pronounced for app. So APP, everything's in Chinese. I just don't know how to order. I wanted to go for Chinese Macca's menu. McDonald's, we call it McDonald's. Okay, McDonald's menu, and it was a struggle for me to even go through because they are all Chinese written. Like I can understand the picture, but it was very difficult. Like even the APP, it was difficult. Like even KFC just released, they have already released a face recognition for your payment, which Alipay is the face recognition as well. So it's pretty much just like what iPhone X is. It iPhone X? There's a face recognition to unlock your phone. It's pretty much the same thing with KFC. It's a struggle when I was in China. Yes, I'm not sure what China will go through, but I know they're trying to implement like English words and things like that, English and translation. But most of the people can't even speak English in China. But yeah, if this app, if the social credit system does release, your super ego conscious will constantly bear in mind, because one action, one word you type wrong on the social media, that's it, your rating will go down. You got to be really, really mindful. So that's what I'm saying now. So that's the end of the slide. I don't know. I can't believe this takes more than an hour just to do 27 slides. But I hope you guys, if you do reach to this stage, hooray. This is the first time I ever make a video for recording as a PowerPoint slide with this function. Before I didn't even use it, so that's why I like to draw around and things like that. But I find that the whole thing is great. I see a lot of videos doing different stuffs, and I don't know, I think it's just crazy to go through. And leave your comments below, see what's it like. I don't know. Dan, if you're watching this, please, I need your thoughts on that as well. Alright then? Alright, I'm out.